On the morning of Monday, February 6, 2017, a gathering of 7 companions, who were all school-matured and living in New Zealand, started getting together their vehicles and preparing to drive back to Auckland, the greatest city in New Zealand. The night prior to the gathering had been out on Lake Tikitapo for a major show called Flochella, where crowd individuals would pay attention to the music while drifting around on large explode pontoons and floats. After the show had finished, the gathering of companions had left the lake and went to a close-by relative's home, where they hosted a calm after get-together with several beverages, and afterward, everybody headed to sleep a tad after 12 p.m. earlier today. The gathering had started off early on the grounds that they needed to get out and about as quickly as time permits to attempt to beat the occasion traffic that made certain to manifest that day. Coming back to Auckland, February 6th is a major public occasion in New Zealand. It's called Waitangi Day, and it's to honor the underlying marking of the Deal of Waitangi, which is viewed as the principal guideline of the nation. Yet right as the 7 companions had wrapped getting together their 3 vehicles and were preparing to start their 3-hour drive north to Auckland, one of the companions, a 21-year-old named Rachel De Jong, proposed they take a speedy diversion before they return to home base. Rachel, alongside one more young lady in this gathering of companions named Maddie, had a while before found this mystery swimming spot that was found something like 15 minutes from where they were presently, and it turned out to be coming back to Auckland. This swimming spot was this delightful green-blue pool of genuinely profound water that was situated in a woodland. This pool was really a piece of the Waikato stream anyway, this stretch of the waterway, where the pool was either extremely shallow or dry, more often than not. So subsequently, this pool truly looked like an independent waterway, while there was no authority trail that drove through the backwoods to this pool of water. There was an informal path. It was essentially a soil trail that sliced through the forest that had shaped over the course of the long stretches of local people stomping their direction to this pool of water. Subsequent to hearing Rachel's idea, the gathering of companions generally concurred that this seemed like a good thought. Thus the gathering climbed into their 3 vehicles, and afterward, by around 11:40 a.m., Rachel and Maddie had guided the escort the entire way to the beginning of this informal soil trail, which was found right on the side of a winding principal street. Subsequent to pulling their vehicles securely out of the way of the street, the gathering got out, and afterward Rachel and Maddie drove them to the beginning of this path, and they started strolling through the backwoods 15 minutes after the fact. At 11:55 a.m. the gathering was getting exceptionally near the water, since the trees up ahead were beginning to disperse. Yet additionally, at 11:55 am the gathering unexpectedly halted in light of the fact that from some place out in the timberland way off before them came this noisy, deafening alarm sound, and it happened for almost 20 or 30 seconds, and afterward it just ground to a halt, and the gathering sort of glanced around at one another. Nobody knew what to think about the alarm. Thus, in the long run, they only sort of disregarded it and continued to stroll. In the span of a moment of that alarm sound reaching a conclusion, the gathering had come to the furthest limit of this informal soil track, which set them at the edge of this wonderful neglect, down to the pool they planned to swim in. Thus they started individually descending the stones before them, where there was a few ropes that had been put up to assist with people in climb down to the water. Thus after they got down to the water, every one of them stripped down to their swimsuits. They hopped into the pool, and they started swimming out towards the focal point of the pool, where there were these 2 major shakes that stuck up out of the water practically like smaller than usual islands. Thus Rachel and different ladies, so 5 of them, they moved onto one of the stones, and the 2 men who were important for this gathering moved onto the other stone. Thus they got up onto these stones, and they're glancing near, yet again, taking in the sights. And afterward, at 11:58 a.m., another alarm impacts across the woods. It's similar sound as the one they heard 3 minutes sooner, when they were on the soil track. Thus, every one of them 7 are somewhat taking a gander at one another, one considering what is the alarm about. However, after the 20 or 30-second lengthy alarm reached a conclusion, they looked around them, and there was no indication of any risk. There was no indication of truly anything occurring at all. It was only this wonderful quiet-appearing desert garden. Thus, in a little while they had overlooked the alarm once more, and Rachel had gotten at her camera, and she was taking pictures, and others were accepting pictures too. And afterward, 2 minutes after the fact at 12 p.m., the alarm sounded for a third time frame. Now, as of now, the gathering has heard the alarm 2 other times, and surprisingly, however, the alarm was somewhat jolting in light of the fact that it was so piercing and ear-splitting and truly cut into their ears. This time, since they've heard it 2 different times, and nothing happened, they generally essentially promptly discounted it. So the alarm sounding for the 3rd time, and the gathering isn't exactly focusing yet. When the alarm at last stops this 3rd time, something else started to occur, and the gathering quickly saw it. Music unfamiliar. Now I realize everybody has a ton to do to plan for Worldwide Pete and Electric Eel Day, from the eel cigarettes to draw the elusive cuddly little animals out of the dinky profound, to the uber-estimated bunch of expert wraps you'll require for post-shock twisted care. There's a great deal you want to partake in this occasion. However, what generally happens when you fire up your wood-terminated PC and start searching for these things? You get it with a draw-up. Yet don't concern, you can return to doing the thing you love, petting electrically charged creatures, for the sake of custom, in the event that you simply use NordVPN, VPN, or Virtual Confidential Organization, is a help that guards you when you peruse the web. A NordVPN is the brand name in the VPN space. Not exclusively will NordVPN guarantee that every one of your information remains securely behind their mass of cutting-edge encryption. Yet in addition, in particular, through their most recent element called Danger Assurance, they will consequently impede every one of those appalling craps that continue to upset your capacity to buy all of your different eel petting supplies, so you can either remain uninvolved this year while your family skips about in the dim pools and quiet stretches of the center and lower Amazon and Orinoco waterway bowls in South America petting loads of electric eels, or you can get Nord Farm, and after a short time, you'll really depend on your noses in cuddly electric eels. Searching for a decent pet at present, the best arrangement for NordVPN is through my YouTube offer right now. You can get a 2-year plan at a colossal markdown, in addition to 4 extra months with the expectation of complimentary when you go to nordfan.com. Mr. Bolin, it's Sandscamble with Nord's 30-day unconditional promise, that is NordVPN. Comb Mr. Balin, or click the connection in the portrayal. Okay, back to the story. Music. When the 3rd alarm ground to a halt, the companions began to hear another sound, and it was coming from a similar heading the alarm had been coming from, which as a result was upstream. Despite the fact that this stream was essentially dry, they could turn and look uphill, and they could plainly see where the waterway would go, assuming it was full. Thus the companions turn and look upstream, and they're paying attention to this truly noisy sort of crushing sound that is coming from that bearing, and they're trading inquisitive glances at one another, attempting to sort out what that sound could be. And afterward, out of nowhere, they see it. A white surge of water comes crashing around the bend and started barreling straight down the riverbed towards them. When the companions had, indeed, even handled what they were seeing, the water had arrived at the pool they were in, and it was flooding the pool so rapidly they could, in a real sense, see this immense pool rising. Its water levels were going up and up and up, surrounding them. Thus, as the stones they're remaining on started to gradually lower under this rising water, the gathering, by and large, concluded that this can't happen for extremely lengthy anything. This is all there is to it. We'll stop, so wait, stay on these stones, we will be okay anyway. Inside the space of seconds, their stones they were on were totally lowered, and the water was all the while tumbling down the slope towards their pool, and afterward pouring out over the opposite side down the opposite finish of the riverbed, and they're contemplating internally, in the event that we don't get off these shakes before long, we will get cleared downstream with this water. Thus the two men who were on their own stone, they jumped to a rough offshoot that was somewhat higher up, and was associated back up to the timberland. Thus this rough offshoot addressed security thus. When they were up there, they pivoted, and they shouted to the 5 ladies actually abandoned on their stone, to attempt to swim over to them, and the folks would snatch them, and pull them to somewhere safe. However, by this point, the young ladies are checking out the waters up to their knees, and it's surging past them. They can scarcely keep their equilibrium. They know whether they endeavor to swim in this water, they will promptly be taken downstream with it. Thus the gathering rapidly conclude guides their main decision is for the ladies to hop and snatch the men in a real sense, who have their arms outstretched for themselves. Thus Rachel de Jong, she was the first to attempt this. She jumps off the stone, she snatches the person's arms, and she gets pulled to somewhere safe, and afterwards she pivots, and she and the other 2 men keep on getting the ladies to leap off the stone to them, and at first it's going genuinely well, until they get down to the second to last lady who jumps. She snatches one of the person's arms, and afterward the 2 of them lose their balance, and the fellow and the lady, the 2 of them move cleared away downstream. They're gone. Rachel stays quiet, and she moves to the position where the person had been who just moved cleared away, and she takes out her GoPro camera selfie stick, and she extends it out, including every person who's out on the stone. She is Alice, and she tells Alice, "Hope." What's more, snatch the selfie stick. Thus Alice, who's totally lowered in water, presently takes this frenzied leap toward take hold of the selfie stick. She gets it briefly, however, at that point loses her grasp, and she starts being cleared away, and Rachel, who as of now was totally protected, promptly bounced into the rapids. After Alice, she got Alice. She endeavored to pivot and get the stone to stop them, yet she was unable to take a few to get back some composure, and she and Alice were likewise cleared downstream out of view 14 days before Rachel Maddie. Alice and the others had gone to this mystery swimming spot, an admonition sign, like an actual admonition sign, that cautioned individuals not to go close to this waterway. Don't go close to this pool was taken, and that cautioning sign was ordinarily positioned at the earliest reference point of that informal soil track that the 7 companions took to get to the pool, meaning when the 7 companions escaped their vehicles and started climbing into the timberland to go to this pool, they could never have perceived the risk of where they were going. Now the facts confirm that Rachel and Maddie had recently found the swim spot a while prior anyway. It seems like they had quite recently discovered that this swim spot existed, and how to get to it didn't seem like they had in a real sense strolled this path and got into the pool. Thus possible they could never have known about the risks. This spot represented the pool of water they were swimming in was not really hazardous itself. It was just perilous in light of the fact that the pool was situated in a spill zone around 650 feet upstream of the pool they were swimming in is a dam, and 3 to 4 times each day they opened their entryways, delivering 20 gallons of water each second down this generally dry riverbed, and the water comes pitching across that pool the whole way to the base. The doors stay open for around 15 minutes, and the main explanation this is done is for the exhibition of it, to show tourists what this riverbed resembled before the dam was fabricated, and what this riverbed resembled before the dam was constructed was a seething fast. On February 6, 2017, the dam was set to spill at 12 p.m., so those alarms the companions heard at 11:55, 11:58, and afterward, 12 were all alerts that a spill was going to happen. Obviously the 7 companions had no clue after the 12 p.m. spill had at last finished. The 3 companions who had come to the rough offshot and had not been cleared away by the eye current went searching for the 4 different companions who had been cleared away, and they would find them 3 had marvelously endured. Yet one had not. The sole casualty was 21-year-old Rachel de Jong, who thought it was to come and swim at the spot. In any case, Rachel likewise was the lady who had passed on security and hopped once more into the rapids to endeavor to save her companion Alice. Today, there are a lot additional admonition signs and fences that have been set up around the Waikato stream to keep individuals from getting excessively close on the grounds that the dam still, notwithstanding the casualty spills a few times each day anyway. Notwithstanding this multitude of safety measures and all the reputation around Rachel's passing, individuals still today sneak in and swim in that mystery pool. So that will make it happen on the off chance that you got something out of this episode and you haven't done this as of now. Kindly send the like button.